The newest era of Star Wars, the High Republic, started out with a bang in the first wave of titles, which included the first issue of the comic series The High Republic by Cavan Scott, the children's book The Great Jedi Rescue, also by Scott, the junior reader novel A Test of Courage by Justina Ireland, and the adult novel Light of the Jedi by Charles Soule. Each of these titles brought something very special to the new era, and I honestly didn't think that anything could live up to such a high bar out of the gate. But leave it to the genius Claudia Gray to totally flip that perception. Hey everyone, my name is Emma Park. I'm a content creator here at Youtini, and today I have the absolute honor of reviewing Into the Dark by Claudia Gray. But before I begin, I just want to remind you to subscribe to Youtini and make sure to hit the notification bell so that you'll be the first to know whenever Youtini drops a brand new video. With that, let's get started. Into the Dark was released on February 2nd, 2021, and is the fifth Star Wars novel by Claudia Gray. It costs the typical young adult hardcover price of $17.99 US and is 345 pages long. I got my copy on Amazon using a Youtini affiliate link, which will be in the description below. If you're the type of person who prefers audiobooks, we've got you covered there too. You can get your first audiobook through Audible on Youtini by going to audibletrial.com/Youtini. Every Star Wars audiobook has amazing production with music, sound effects, incredible narration, and so far the High Republic audiobooks have been simply incredible. Those are all the basics, now let's move on to the actual review. The review team here at Youtini looks at several key factors for every book we review: plot, characters, originality, writing, and entertainment. While we aren't paid for these reviews, we do receive advanced reader copies for free. Our goal with these reviews is to be honest yet respectful because we love our Star Wars authors and we want them to keep writing Star Wars books. That being said, you can always trust us here at Youtini to give you an honest review that will make your reader experience even better. Alright, let's dive into it. Let's discuss the plot first. This novel centers around Jedi Padawan Reath Silas, who is headed to the frontier of the galaxy, but is reluctant to go because of his love of the archives on Coruscant. However, he still has to go on his assignment, but on the way he meets 3 fellow Jedi and the very interesting crew of the Vessel. And yes, that's right, it's a ship called the Vessel. I know that's a little confusing, but if you're reading the paper version of the book, it's in italics, you'll be fine. Like in previous installments of titles in the High Republic, the Great Disaster ruins everyone's hyperspace plans, and in this book we are taken to an abandoned space station to wait things out. However, this isn't just any old space station, it's quite unique, has many unique features, and I don't want to spoil that for you. The Nihil are antagonists in this novel, but not as much as in Light of the Jedi. However, that doesn't make them any less interesting, menacing, or even threatening. The other antagonists are the Drengir, who are basically evil plants. Their introduction and their fighting tactics make for interesting action sequences. The plot could get a bit tedious at times, as this book could be considered more character-focused. There were some flashback sequences that were occasionally spread out a bit too far apart, so you tended to forget what had happened. And I'll be honest, being stuck in one place for most of the book didn't help much either, but Claudia Gray did the best with what she had, using the mysteries of the station to the benefit of the plot. The plot was one of the weaker aspects of this book, and our review team gave it an 8.0 out of 10. Moving on to characters now. As with every Star Wars book Claudia Gray writes, this might just be the strongest category. There's such a wide spectrum of the types of characters in this book that really gives it a great variety. Starting with the captain of the Vessel, Leox Jayassi has one of the most interesting and unique personalities of the bunch. He's not your typical cocky pilot, he's more grounded and gives perspective for any situation. His co-pilot, Affie Hollow, is a young girl but clearly has some hard-earned experience. And she has a really interesting backstory, which I don't want to give away. The vessel's navigator, Geode, is a rock. More specifically, he's a Vintian, but he's basically a huge rock. It's not clear whether he speaks or not, but he does move from place to place, although we never actually witness this happening. But Geode adds a fun element to the book that it occasionally needed. Now for the Jedi. Our main character, Reath Silas, is a book-smart Jedi Padawan who wouldn't rather be anywhere else than the Jedi archives, which makes him different from most Jedi. His master, Jorah Malley, sends him out to the frontier to join her on the Starlight Beacon. On Reath's journey, he meets Master Comac Vitus, who shares his interests in academics since he's a folklorist. The two make a very interesting pair, more intellectually focused than most Jedi we've ever seen, and Vitus has quite interesting ideas on the Order itself, which is very intriguing. Another Jedi who travels with Reath and Comac is Jedi Knight Des Ryden, who actually shares a connection with Reath in that his former master was Jorah Malley. He is looked up to by many of the younger Jedi because of his fabled adventures. The last Jedi traveling in this group is Master Orla Jarini, who has recently declared herself as a Jedi Wayfinder. I'll have more on this later, but she's a really interesting Jedi, and also she has a really cool lightsaber. It's white and double-bladed, like that's so cool. Claudia Gray never fails to write characters beautifully, and our review team gave this section an 8.8 out of 10. Next, let's talk about originality. Now, pretty much everything about the High Republic is completely original, so that's already a given. However, Gray brings a ton of new Force lore to the table, which is one of the more interesting aspects of this book. The Jedi Wayseeker is a new concept that's really quite intriguing. Essentially, the Force calls some Jedi to be the equivalent of what we would call a freelancer. They travel around the galaxy to reflect and to help where needed. Gray also explained some maneuvers with the Force that we'd never seen before, such as creating a containment field of sorts. It was really quite cool to see. The space station, while it's not original in nature, it was made totally new by its contents and its past and current functions. I also have to give a shout out to the Drengir in this section. When authors were starting to talk about the High Republic and Claudia Gray mentioned something about an evil plant, I honestly thought I heard her wrong. Who would ever imagine making murderous plants one of the main antagonists in a book? Now that's what I call original. Like everything High Republic, the originality of this book was high, receiving a 9.3 out of 10 from our review team. Let's move on to writing now. As I mentioned before, this book is not as focused on the plot, rather it's more focused on character development. Some readers might see this as a weakness since the book doesn't have that initial wow factor, but this could not be any less true. Gray writes quieter scenes with a precision that even Luke Skywalker would be jealous of. She focuses in on the characters' thoughts and feelings and how they relate to the people around them in a certain moment. And when you look at the development that each and every character undergoes from the beginning of the book to the end, you'll be absolutely amazed. On top of the amazing character development, when there was action, Gray was on top of her game. The fighting sequences felt impactful and high stakes, yet the motivations and the emotions of the characters weren't lost in the fray. Gray's writing is always top-notch, and Into the Dark was no different. Our review team gave the writing a 9.3 out of 10. Last up is entertainment. I'm not gonna lie, initially this book was a little disappointing in the entertainment department after coming off of a page-turner like Light of the Jedi. However, as long as you give it a fair shot, this book won't end up disappointing you in the end. I think an apt term to describe it would be a slow burn, which Light of the Jedi absolutely was not. So it might be just a shell shock of the difference between the two. About a third of the way through the book, the reader gets way more invested in the characters and the tension builds to something that's not so slow of a burn. The next thing you know, something that was a little tedious turns into something that you just can't put down. Sometimes with these more character-driven books, the entertainment value isn't so high out of the gate. But that's okay, because the end makes the wait for that turn so worth it. While starting off slow, this book picked up pace quickly and ended up transforming into a page-turner. Our review team gave the entertainment a 9.3 out of 10. Overall, Into the Dark is yet another strong entry into Claudia Gray's growing portfolio of Star Wars titles, receiving an official Youtini score of an 8.9 out of 10. That'll do it for today's video. I hope you've enjoyed our review of Into the Dark by Claudia Gray. But we want to know what you think of the book. Comment down below and let us know. Our Discord server has absolutely amazing conversations on all of the new EU material, and I highly recommend joining in on the conversation at youtini.com/discord. I absolutely cannot wait for whatever the High Republic brings next, and I hope you'll stay with us at Youtini as we all journey together through this brand new era. If you'd like to help support Youtini, links to all of the High Republic books are in the description below. Can't get enough of the High Republic? Check out our guide to the High Republic, as well as reviews and videos in the description below. If you'd like to take a deeper dive into the books, check out The Living Force, the official podcast of Youtini, or catch the live show every Monday night at 7 p.m. Eastern at twitch.tv/Youtini_US. We also have another live show at the exact same place called Legends Look Back, which is about, you guessed it, Legends. Lastly, if you'd like to help support Youtini more directly and get more content from us, check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/Youtini. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, we are all the Republic.